Welcome to the show, Dan Davies. You are internationally acclaimed award-winning writer, actor, and producer. You've been nominated for a number of awards, including a BIFA, British Independent Film Award, and a variety of Best Film Awards across the world. You were the first ever American to be awarded a Golden Movie Award, one of the top 3 film awards in Africa.
Wow.
Your films are showcased on PBS, Amazon Prime, Netflix, and Redbox, to name just a few. There's lots more to talk with you about, Dan. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tell us more.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen. First of all, it's an honor. I'm just excited to be here, and it's wonderful what you're doing with Music for Global Change. And I feel the same way with the projects that I do and the books that I publish and the films that I'm blessed enough to be in. I try to have a message behind the meaning and a meaning behind the message with everything that I do, which is always cool. And speaking of Music for Global Change, I have 2 books that I'm publishing right now from 2 great authors, Randy Richardson, called Havana Hangover, and it's about the people of Cuba and some intrigue and craziness and fun, and then Music on the Bones, which is actually about the Soviet Union in 1969, where rock music was contraband. And they used to spirit in rock, and they used to press it onto used X-ray film. And that's how they used to get Beatles records and, Jimi Hendrix and the Stones.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a great book too. It's just Renegade Press. It's on Amazon. So I'm very, very blessed to be publishing those books as well. So we're right up the same alley with our ethos and our goals, I guess.
Yeah.
What part of Africa were you in?
I was so Nollywood is the second largest film market in the world, and it emanates primarily from Nigeria, but it's also Ghana, West Africa, and the 24 English-speaking countries of Africa. It has about 500 million fans, and I did a couple of films actually, Tempting Fate. I did a film with A.Y. Makun, who's the #1 actor in Africa. It was called A Trip to Jamaica, and that was filmed in Jamaica, Lagos, Nigeria, and filmed in Atlanta, Georgia, here in the US. It was a #1 Nollywood film of all time, got into the Guinness Book of World Records just a little bit, and then did well all over the world and got onto Netflix and all kinds of fun things. But it was great because, again, it's showing that the inclusivity of having Americans with African people and working together hand in glove, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And it was cool. I was able to kind of rep Americans, hopefully as well as I could, when we were overseas, because people have sometimes different attitudes towards us because we're American, and you're trying to change that with what you do, and it's sometimes it's difficult, but it's wonderful too to have that challenge. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. How did I get in this nutshell?
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, the beautiful thing, man, is like you're winning awards, so somebody is loving what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the perk of life right there, man, that you could do something that touches someone,
Yeah, that's a raison for être. That's a reason for living, a reason for being, and you speak to that every day. You speak that into existence. I mean, when we're creating is when we're fully human, and when we're creating and bringing other people into that process, that means we're even fully expedited humans. So.
Yeah, and the blessing is you're spreading love. You're passing the blessing down to others, whether you make a dime or a dollar. Just because we don't have anything doesn't mean we can't help.
You bet, damn straight. I'm from the product of my father was in a maximum security federal penitentiary, a 12-year sentence growing up, and my mom was sick, had adult onset diabetes, and died prematurely. My family had to be split up, government cheese, welfare, the whole works. And I always tell people, it's not where you begin, it's where you end. And the journey is half the battle. And that's the beautiful thing about it is I just, we got to give. We got to always keep giving.
That's the key to the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Yep. I love Bob Marley was one of my heroes and still is. But he said that the attainment of money, he said, all money is a number.
That's it.
And numbers go on forever. So you're never fully satisfied. If that's your goal to attain a lot of money, you're never fully satisfied because numbers go on for infinity. but you will be satisfied with helping other people, being creative, and getting those people into your process, and vice versa, you getting into their process as well. So that's kind of how I live my life. We do creative stuff and we hope that people like it. You know, like you were saying earlier before, like when I'm blessed enough and fortunate enough to be awarded some pretty cool accolades and whatever. It's nice to have people enjoy your work. But, you know, I think if you get to a point where your creative process and you want to be able to do this for a living, and we need, you know, still need money. And so I have goals. Everybody does, you know, we all have set our goals for ourselves, but it's true. If your goals are just self-serving, then all they are self-serving. You're not serving others. And that's what we should do.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Obviously, you have, as you mentioned, been sort of multi-awarded for varying projects that you've done. I was going to ask you what it was like for you to be recognised in this way. You've sort of touched on it there with what you just said. Was it just a happy byproduct of the projects you were on?
You know, I'm so goal-oriented and vision-oriented that I visualize, because when you come from nothing, you have to visualize that you have something. I've been, I guess, a byproduct of not ever having anything in my life. And you have to visualize what you want to get next. You have to dream it, conceive it, believe it, and achieve it. So what I'd always do is visualize myself winning awards.
Yes.
And I could actually hold the award and feel it on my cheek, and I could visualize it. And you know, we're designed to do that. We're designed to see our future, in essence, and to set our own goals. So that was pretty cool to be able to do that. One of the Golden Movie Award was in Accra, Ghana, and my director and co-star went to grab it, and it was televised on, I think, the BBC Ghana or BBC Nigeria, and which was really kind of cool. And he thanked me, and he had won 9 other awards for these films, so he was the big time winner. So he literally was coming up handfuls of these trophies, just saying, I'd like to thank, you know, the Golden Movie Awards and on behalf of Dan Davies. So it's cool, but it's a byproduct again of your goals. It's a byproduct of your vision.
Yeah.
That's a tangible something that you can take away from your hard work. It's always fun to do that, you know. It's always cool.
Has it been a particular thing that you've gone into kind of Nollywood as an area? Is that where you wanted to head with the sort of films that you were doing, or was that just something that happened at kind of right place, right time for you? What was the path that brought you into that film genre?
I did this film called West of Thunder, a Western based on the Lakota Oglala Sioux people of North Dakota and the Great Plains. And I play a character in it kind of from indiscriminate origins. He's a Wakina, actually. He's a spirit being. But my grandfather was part Seneca Indian from upstate New York, of the Iroquois. So that was really important to me to get that kind of perspective. Yeah, West of Thunder, which Sadie Kay is also in. And that did really well, got onto Hulu. And they saw it when it was at Toronto International Film Festival, these filmmakers from Nigeria, and they ferreted me out and said, hey, we're doing this film. Can you play a Russian? And I said, of course I can, which I couldn't. but you know, in acting, you basically just kind of lie your way through it sometimes.
Always say yes.
So I said, yeah, can you play a bad guy Russian? And there used to be an American comedian, which, Skyler, you might remember, Yakov Smirnov. He was actually Russian that lived in the United States. And he'd be like, this is what he sounded like. He goes, in America, people drive cars as big as tanks. Yeah. In the Soviet Union, tanks drive over people. He was very comical. He was big in the 80s and 90s. So my Russian accent sounded like him, which sounded comical. So I told him, I said, you guys, do you mind if I change my character? I don't want him to be Russian. I wanted him to be from Kazakhstan, which used to be a Russian satellite country, because I got online and I found the Kazakh accent. And I said, well, I can do that. It's always difficult when people come to me for various reasons. Yeah. And I would do that. And they said, well, that's perfect. So we're going to have your character now from Kazakhstan, but part of the old Soviet Union. So I was able to kind of craft this character because of it. But I tell people just always go for it. You can always learn on the way. But that's what I did. And they saw the film at the Tempting Fate people saw the film West of Thunder. And then it's been kind of history that I did that film and then a trip to Jamaica. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
I love it. Now, do you direct too?
I'm starting to get into directing a little bit. I like the process of it. I've been writing, had some of my screenplays turned into films, and the acting is always fantastic. And I've got a couple films coming out, actually 2 horror films, thriller horror films coming out in 2023. But the directing, I think I'd like even better because, again, it's that collaborative process. The director has his hands in everything. The director,
and you're also teaching people too.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing, right?
Oh, yeah, it is. And that's funny that you should say that. When I'm on set, it's funny too because some of the directors or producers will come to me and say, "Hey, Dan, can you talk to some of the younger actors, and impart whatever limited wisdom you have?" But I love doing that. But with directing, you're the coach, you're the team leader, you're the psychologist, you're all of those things rolled up into one.
Yeah.
But it's such a great process because every single bit you have your hands in. And that's what I kind of like, because I like show business is half show and half business. But it's a visual process, and getting that kind of eye for it is really kind of cool. But I'm starting to get into directing a little bit more, and I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I've done a couple of short films and a TV pilot, but nothing major.
You've written and acted, and obviously you've done production as well. I suppose it's all encompassing, but where does your passion truly lie? Is it in the writing or in the acting?
Yeah, I like them all pretty much equally. I love the writing process. I've written a couple of books and I've written about a dozen or so screenplays. With acting though, what I do is when I get scripts and they say, "We've got you attached for this role," once I start reading the lines and once I start to memorize those lines, the character shows itself to me, not the other way around.
Okay.
I've never created the lines and the person who wrote it. That entity now has become me. And I never go in with a preconceived notion of how I want to go for the part, because the part defines me, not the other way around. And it's a really weird process. And I haven't talked to many people about it, but I would imagine it's like creating a song. The song is going to tell you what to do, instead of the other way around. So when I do these, I really enjoy that process because it's magical. The moment that you're starting to memorize the lines, the character becomes real and inhabits you. And that's a wonderful feeling. That's a very strange feeling, but it's a wonderful feeling. And I think that's truly the creative process right there in a nutshell. And it's fun. So I like the acting. But I like it pretty much all. I like all of it. The acting, though, especially, though, I think it's the most creative out of all of them.
It's about doing things that's fun, man.
Yep.
And then find out how to make a living at it.
Damn straight. It's like they always say, find your passion.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, and if you do it long enough, do it well enough, you'll be able to etch out a living. And that's, what your goal is to do. If you do a job that you love, that you absolutely love, you never work a day in your life.
That's right.
And that's true. And, most of my friends don't think I have a real job. So
yeah, that's what my uncle said to me when I was about 13. He said, "Man, you getting serious about this music thing, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I tell you, it's chicken today and feathers tomorrow."
It's either everything or nothing pretty much in our business.
That's right, man.
And it's you just have to kind of, I guess, get that lightning in a bottle once in a while to get over the lean times. But you're always going to be a musician, you're always going to be a vocalist, you're always going to be a singer, Skyler. You're always going to create from that perspective. Exactly. And that could never be taken away from you.
Music is emotion.
Yeah.
So, when you acting, they put the right emotion in, right, it goes to another level.
Yep. Yep.
But I'd like to ask you, who were some of your favorite social conscious music artists?
Well, Harry Belafonte, who
He
just
died
passed.
today.
Yeah. He and Sidney Poitier were two of my dad's favorites
Wow.
growing up. And I absolutely love them. And I absolutely love the fact that they lived that ideal. They lived that ethos and everything that they did. And love, my favorite actor probably of all time is Denzel Washington. I think
Okay.
he's amazing. But Matthew McConaughey, a friend of mine knows him really well, and he was saying that, speaking of music, he said when two actors are in a scene and they're really into it and they're real and they're graphically intense and wonderful, he said it's music. He said it sings correctly. He said it sounds like a song. He said
Yeah.
it sounds and sings correctly. So
Wow.
Matthew McConaughey, Oscar winner, says good acting is like a song. It's like singing.
Yeah.
And that it hit me, and I was like, wow, you're right. And when I'm in a scene with somebody who's amazing, and it's just like it's like a duet. It's like a song. So I just wanted to get that across. But yeah, Denzel Washington is my hero. Overall, I think he's the greatest actor in the last 30 years.
What other music artists?
I get into, I was an athlete, kind of bodybuilder in the 90s and early 2000s. And I listened to like heavy metal rap, like
Wow.
Run DMC. Like Run DMC's first album
Right.
came out in, I think, 82 or 83. And Beastie Boys and some of these other groups, but Run DMC especially, because it was a melding of inner city New York rap and heavy metal. And
How about what? But the lyrical content was what?
It was, but you see, Run DMC was very positive and has
Okay.
always been positive. In some, I'm not gonna like diss any like rappers or anything like that, but if you're talking about hurting people or mistreating women or any of those things or drugs, I don't listen to those. Run
Okay.
DMC was always about positivity, was always
Right.
about, social change and believing in yourself and helping others. I mean, their stuff was heavy metal and awesome, but it had a message behind it.
That's
So Rip and
that's the
Run.
key. That's
Yeah.
the key. Is the content, right?
Yeah.
And so like I work in Accra, right? And also up in Kigali, Rwanda. I work over there. 54 nations, and there's so much talent,
Yep.
but there's no industry there for them.
No.
And they study the West like crazy. You can hear
Yep.
the influences in their music and Europe, because I work a lot in Europe, and they study the West.
Yep.
But there's so much beautiful music over here as well
Yep.
in different countries and different instruments. And I want the American kids to hear that.
Yeah.
Give them something new. And not only that, let a human being perform it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put the computer down for a minute and
Yep.
and watch what you and I and Tom saw when we was kids. There were no computers, and
No.
there was music here.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember in an interview you did on, I think it was an Irish TV station, RTE, I think it was. You talk about there's 900 million people living in Europe. There's 1 billion people living in Africa. There's 330 million in the United States. Now
And Russia. And India.
Yeah, we should be getting more of that music here and appreciating it more so, because American music all over, like you said, you can go any place. You can go to a cafe and they've got American music on, or Western, music on. But
it's just not fair.
No,
because I'm listening to all this music because I'm going around to different countries, going, man, they need to hear this in my country. I used to have a radio show back home, and once a month I'd have one act from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And what I used to love is the Americans. Hey man, who was that? What was that? What was that? Because they feed you like the Beatles and Sting, and they just give you a little touch of what's going on over here.
I was going to ask, you're on IMDb, you have an IMDb page, and you're on Wikipedia, but I wondered if you were on any other platforms.
Yeah, so my publishing company is renegadepresspublisher.com, and people could get a hold of me via that.
All right.
And then my Facebook and Instagram is just under Dan Davies, Davies.
Much love, brother. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you, man. God bless you. You're
Thanks for
doing
joining us.
You're doing amazing stuff, you guys. Keep it up. Don't get discouraged. Keep being positive. You know, God's always in your corner, kicking ass. So thank you, guys.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.